Okay, so now that you've made your tool and a recipe for a tool, we can go on to make maybe a bigger project. Uh, so how about let's talk about making our first block. So in Minecraft, to make for most materials, you have a block and then you have an item. So for diamond, you have a diamond block and then you find diamond. If for iron, you get an iron block, and then you get raw iron, and then you have to smelt it to turn it into iron, whatever it's called, just an iron ingot. So how about let's make a block of an ore of something. We'll call this, what is a cool metal or something. Cobalt. Sure. We'll make cobalt, and this will be an ore. So we'll call it Cobalt Ore. This definitely won't be like the actual material element. This will not be like that at all. This is our fantasy Minecraft version. Just as diamonds don't turn into beautiful diamond blue armor. So we're going to make this an ore, and let's start out with a template again. So in here, let's say that my cobalt can be found in stone. Let's find something that looks like stone and go from there to make our life easy. Why work harder when you can not? That kind of looks like stone, but also looks like wood. Oops. There's all those ores right there. We'll use that later. These are all options, but I feel like some are just better than others. Oh, this one's pretty good. This one looks like stone. So I'm choosing this 16 by 16. It's beautiful. It already looks like stone. I'm actually going to leave that, but if I wanted, I could do a little bit of like decoration or something, make it a little more interesting. Great. It's very slightly more interesting. Now, let's add another layer. And you could do transparency if you want to do your ore by yourself, but I'm going to do template, and I'm going to look for, oops, an ore. That kind of looks like coal or chicken nuggets or something. Let's do, I feel like those are supposed to, oh, these are the real ores. Let's do this one. That one kind of looks cool. Create. And now that I have these two layers, if I do anything on this layer, okay, that's not super noticeable. If I do anything on this layer, but then I make that layer go away, then you won't be able to see it. And we can make it visible again by clicking this eye. I gotta click around, and sometimes it takes that extra effort. Okay, let's go back, back arrow, back arrow, back arrow, back arrow, oh, forward arrow, there we go. And now let's make our cobalt stuff. I think blue makes sense. I don't want it to be like diamondy blue, so I'll kind of do a purpley color, just so it stands out from the rest of the game. Yeah, I don't mind that. Okay, and now I'm actually going to make this one go away so I can tell exactly where my little gems are. I'm just going to trace around these. So now I will make an ore. It's kind of weird when you just draw it like thing by thing like this, because when you drag it, it just does a different amount, a more even amount of the purple color. But like if I tap it, you'll notice that it's just not as beautiful purple as like these ones are. So I'm going to undo that. Now I'm going to drag it around. You can also use the size tool to make it larger, and I could just try and let's make it not that large. Paint all those purple, and then I could go and erase it. Something else you will find is that if you try and erase with a transparency in your hand, you will only erase transparently. So you will make things harder to see, and that can be very useful. Like let's say that you make a texture that you really like, but you need it to be transparent, you can erase transparently. So that's nice. But I want to erase solidly. Now I can go around and erase all this. So now I just know that I created an even layer over all of that. There's a few different ways to do this, but over time I think this method of just using like a transparent brush and drawing on it is my favorite. And beautiful, that is our cobalt. That'll be the start. Save this texture. Cobalt Ore texture. Just use the same naming conventions generally. And it's a block. I saw that there and I didn't change it, so it's really good that I did know that it's a block. Just in case it cares about that, I saved it again. And there we go. If you click left overlay, it will fill in your whole block. So the 6 sides are all the same. And that's what I want. If you do it somewhere else, you'll have to manually put in each one, and that can be a little tedious. Okay. So now, guys, there's still a few minutes left. There's a whole lot to making a block. Several tabs. It's not as simple as a tool like we did before. So all these, we can kind of leave them be. I can talk about most of these later. We're going to list, so this is like block item texture if you wanted to have a different item when it's like in your hand, but really we just want it to all be default for something like this. Transparency, you know, if you have a translucent block, which I've made, or there's cutouts in it, like leaves, do this. But we're going to leave it. And block model you can also change, but we're definitely leaving that. Yeah. Okay. Bounding box, leave that alone. You don't want to get rid of its bounding box or change it. That's just what you can step on and stuff. I've seen weird glitches with that. It is a rock, but we could change that. Hardness, cobalt is hard, I guess. Resistance, it is blast resistant. Slipperiness and jump factor and speed factor, I'm going to leave these, but these will change how your character moves on them. Luminance will let it glow. Light opacity will, I think, make it see-through. Some of these can be kind of weird. You need to, if you're going to do this, then you have to do like this too, sort of thing. So just be conscientious. Be aware of what you're changing on here and how it might need changes in different ways. And read all the little question marks. If you're going to change something, just read this question mark. See what they say about it. Can you walk through the blocks? Does it have gravity like sand? No, no. See, another thing about glow. See, there's multiple things about glowing on here. So just, if you're trying to do something that glows, you can combine them. You can try one and see how that works. It's kind of weird. Custom drop. I'm going to make a new item for it to drop. We're going to make raw cobalt. So I'm going to go and click item. And I'm going to make raw cobalt. Create a texture, an item texture, and let's just choose a template so I don't have to spend a while. And this looks like a chunk of something. Let's do this one. Create. I have my purple from before. I forget what exactly I did, so we're just going to go and create a new purple. Purple about there, here, transparent, maybe a little brighter. Now that it's actually out of the ground, it doesn't need to be so saturated. And we are going to do that technique where I made it all big before, because I kind of like that. And now erase. Oops, totally forgot. I'm erasing transparently. So you got to change it by pressing that. And here we go. Now we're erasing the whole way. I'm going to make this smaller because that's kind of ridiculous. Okay, so we're back. Let's just erase this. You know what? It just doesn't look purple enough. Let's go. Let's make this a lot stronger. Less transparent too. Classic. I was in erase mode. Okay, let's try that again. Smaller size. And I can just erase the little things I did wrong. Let's go replace, erase, erase. Notice how I did erasing from the solid texture. And there we go. That is our raw cobalt. Raw cobalt text. And really, you gotta make sure you change it to be an item. This is gonna be annoying. Before they made it very obvious, you had to click one. Now it's gonna default as block. So you're gonna make a whole lot of textures. So let's say I did save it as a block. If I tried to put that in my raw cobalt, it's not showing up. So I'm gonna have to go back to the texture. And let's say they even closed it. I'm gonna have to go back to the texture, go to workspace. I'm gonna have to go to resources. I'm going to have to go season textures for blocks. So I'm going to open this up again. And I'm going to click save as a new texture. And this time I'm going to make sure it's an item. So we'll rename it raw cobalt texture. Because last time I just said text. Save this texture. Boom. And now I can put that into my raw cobalt. Sweet. And look, I have two. So let's say I don't want this here. I can just select it and click delete selected. And there we go. Raw cobalt. And nothing else fancy I actually have to do here. So I'm going to leave this all. You can look through these if you want. It's usually quite self-explanatory and it might come up in another video. Sweet. Cobalt ore. Now I've made my raw cobalt. So I can make it drop cobalt ore, or raw cobalt. Sweet. Drop amount. How about let's drop 2, just for fun. Use loot table for drops. If checked, you need to define... Actually, we'll do 1, because then it's simpler. Nope, none of this stuff. Tool able to destroy it. This is cobalt ore that we're editing right now, so I want it to be pickaxe that destroys it. And we're going to make it hard to destroy. 2 is with iron, so it takes having an iron pickaxe to destroy it. So I guess I'll make it stronger than iron. Vanilla sound set, you can just choose stone, and then it'll sound like you're breaking stone. Otherwise, it's going to sound all weird. And you could do custom sounds if you wanted, but we're going to leave that. Advanced properties, we're also going to leave this alone. It's useful if you want to have particles, or you want to do redstone, or other weird things, which we have touched before, but not this time. Block entity, this is interesting. I don't know much about this, but let's leave this alone. Energy and fluid storage, we're also going to leave this alone. Triggers is code, we're going to leave this alone. And generation, this is what we're going to edit. So, all we changed today was in visual, properties, and finally, generation. So, I'm going to say that it can generate in the surface dimension. That is where we spawn. There's also the nether and end. And this means it can generate in any stone. If I type in here and I search any, oops, I thought that would work. Never mind. I thought that would work. It's come up before. But this just means that it will generate over any type of stone. So all the weird new types of stone that they add in, it can generate in that. Restriction biomes, I'm going to leave this empty. It can just generate in any. Generation shape, uniform or triangle. You can read what that does. I'm pretty sure it just vaguely changes like where it's going to, like how the chunk of ore will generate, but we can leave that as uniform. Average amount of ore groups per chunk. So a chunk in Minecraft is like this. It's 16 by 16 going infinitely up and down. So how many groups of this ore is going to generate in this pillar right here? It says 10. Let's make it kind of rare with 6. Then average number of ores in group, that's going to be, let's say that in here there's 6 different groups of my cobalt ore. Let's say that, or this will just change how big each group is. So I could make it 50, and then that's going to be a ton of ore together. Or I could make it like diamond to do something like 5 or 6, where it's like much smaller groups. You're only getting small pockets of it. So coal has a whole lot, and diamond has a little, basically. So let's make that 9, I guess. Minimal generation height. that is how low can it generate. On here it shows 0 there. It goes down to -64 these days, so remember that. And maximal generation height. If there's stone that for some reason generated this high, we could say that it could generate at 100. So I'm going to say that's something special about cobalt, is it can generate very high. Even if you're in high mountains, you will find cobalt. So yeah, I'm going to make it 100. And then the minimal generation height, I think 0 sounds great. It's not too low. It doesn't go into the deep dark or whatever that's called. Sweet. And now I have raw cobalt and cobalt ore. Okay, so next time I'm going to talk about how to make it, how to finish off your material pack. So we have our cobalt ore, and when you mine it, you get raw cobalt. Next, we'll make it smith out. We'll be able to smith our raw cobalt into a cobalt ingot, and we will go from there. Okay,